let's continue. Let's get this thing cracking. Hold on just a second, okay? All right, be with you in just a second. We're gonna get this stream started. All right, guys, welcome. Everybody, welcome to this stream right now. We are reacting to Ronda Rousey signing to fight Gina Carano. And I got a few things to say about this that's going to shock everybody, okay? First and foremost, I'd like to say that Ronda Rousey should not even be fighting, okay? Because this woman has clearly stated that she is not in the right headspace to fight. All the injuries that she's had going on in judo, all the brain damages, the fact that she said she almost went blind from getting jabbed in practice. Okay, these are all very concerning regarding Ronda Rousey. Now, here's what's even more concerning about all of this, right? The California State Athletic Commissions has somebody in their ranks who happens to be Ronda Rousey's mother, okay? Dr. Ann DeMars, which is her name. Obviously, they have different last names. Ronda Rousey took the name of the father, and like a liberal woman that she is, she took her own last name, and obviously she is known as Ann DeMars, right? The mother of Ronda Rousey. Well, anyways, she is the committee member of the state athletic commissions in California, specifically for combat sports commissions in California. So this is Ronda Rousey's mom in a nutshell. So if Ronda Rousey is badly brain damaged, as I would predict she is, don't you think this is a bad idea, sort of bringing her into this whole situation? And the thing is, why would her mom sign up for this, right? Considering the fact that Ronda Rousey was told by her mom, or at least publicly in an interview setting, where she says that, you know what, this sport is for dummies, okay? You need to get up out of here. You don't need this sport. You don't need to continue on, or this, that, and the other. You can just go and do something else, right? Whether that's WWE, maybe acting, maybe podcasting, whatever it is that Ronda Rousey can do beyond fighting. Okay, this was by the advisement of her mom. Now that her mom is part of the commission, the California State Athletic Commission at that, why is she letting her daughter fight knowing that she has injuries? Well, here's the thing. Maybe Gina Carano is what you would consider a low risk situation, right? What do I mean by low risk? Would you say that the John Jones and Cyril Gane fight was low risk for John Jones? I mean, in hindsight, it doesn't seem that way. Sir Jacob says free will. Well, you know what? Here's the thing, right? As a society in America, we enjoy the freedom of what we call free will, or the freedom to express oneself, right? And the ability to express oneself can go in multitudes of dimensions. Number one, it could go into the dimensions of the fact that you have the free will to get whatever tattoo you want. Whether you want a I love mom tattoo, or I hate dad, or whatever it is that you want to vehemently express, you are allowed to have the free will to do that. Now, here's the thing. In society, you are not allowed to hurt yourself purposely, and there are multiple laws that sort of coincide with that. For example, if you were doing heroin in the middle of the street, okay, no matter what part of the United States, you're going to get locked up, you're going to get busted, and especially you're doing it out in public. Why is it that you're not allowed to take drugs out in public? How come you're not allowed to do that? Because according to the law, it states that you are committing a self-transgression towards yourself. Why is it that you can't drive around without a seatbelt? By the way, let me disclose a little personal story. The other day, I got pulled over for not having a seatbelt. Okay, I didn't have a seatbelt the other day, and the cop pulled me over, and I thought, man, this is ridiculous. I mean, look, the jurisdiction that pulled me over, they sort of had this long standing of pulling me over for multitudes of reasons, but that's a story for another time. Has nothing to do with this situation right now. But what I'm merely saying is that it is a responsibility for the government and for authority figures in whatever society that is to console with the citizen and to make sure that he's not only harming others but also not harming himself. Sir Jacob says, you are if you're John Jones. What in what context you mean by that? Sorry, you got to give me context, because obviously I was going on a ramble there while you made that comment, so I want to be accurate in what specifics you are talking about when I just mentioned what I had mentioned. So the other aspect of this, the other thing that I really like about this entire fight, well, to be honest with you, from the MMA side of things, I don't like it from a hardcore fan's perspective. But let me tell you why I do like it, specifically for Ronda Rousey and for Gina Carano. Gina Carano, as you know, has been a center of some controversies during her time as an actress for Disney. She mentioned some things that were very controversial that I'd rather not mention, because obviously your channel will get flagged, and if you get flagged, then, you know, that's not very good results, nor is it something that I want. But if you are curious about the controversies regarding Gina Carano, go look it up yourself, okay? And if you're a hardcore MMA fan and you tuned into this, you already know what the controversies are with Gina Carano. If not, look up Gina Carano controversy, Disney losing a movie role or losing some sort of actress role that she had going on. as a consequences to the types of opinions that she was sort of mentioning out there. Ronda Rousey, on the other hand, also has a bit of a redemption story all on her own. Okay? The redemption story is that she has always had this contentious relationship with the media. And as a result of that contentious relationship, she now wants to come back into the world of MMA where she now has to face these questions. Hey, what happened in the Amanda Nunes fight? What happened in the Holly Holmes fight? Why did you cover your face when you were flying home from Australia to the United States, coming back after you got your head kicked in by Holly Holmes? These are questions that she now has to face in the public sphere of things, especially when she is going to campaign for this fight and the promotion that is going to go into this fight. So there's two redemption stories between them. There's the person that could have been, and then there's the person that was a never was, right? There's a has been, and then there was a never was. I remember when I was watching the Mighty Ducks as a young kid, right? One of Gordon Bombay's coach, played by Emilio Estevez, said, well, his coach said to him, you were never a has-been, you were a never was. Because Gordon Bombay's character was a hotshot pee-wee hockey player in his younger days, became a lawyer in his older days, and never made it to the NFL. I'm sorry, the NHL, which is about hockey, obviously, right? So he called him a never was. Gina Carano, for the accomplishments that she's had in the world of MMA, for whatever that means in the era that she was at, by the way, a very hyperly underdeveloped era of women's fighting, and then Ronda Rousey came along. But she's a never was because she never fought in the UFC. Meanwhile, here's Ronda Rousey, even with all the struggles that she's been through in the UFC, getting knocked out by Amanda Nunes in less than 60 seconds, getting her head kicked in by Holly Holmes, right? Just not understanding the range and the distance and having poor striking skills for a world champion. These are all the things that, well, she's made a mistake or has faced some sort of bad moments in her career, but at least she could say that she was a world champion. She stormed the UFC and made women's fighting, whereas with Gina Carano, she was just a face that knew how to fight. And make no mistake, Gina Carano knew how to fight. For the development or the lack of development that women's fighting was back in the days. Let me read some of these comments right here. He says, why are you wasting your time speaking about Ronda Rousey instead of getting bread? Ain't been active in years. Well, I gotta tell you, man, I'm sorry to tell you, but a lot of people are interested in the Ronda Rousey fight. You may not be, and here's a crazy part about it, I may not be, but this is the business that we are in. This is an important news in the world of MMA, specifically because of the casuals, not so much of the hardcores. Let me tell you what is important in the world of MMA. Sean Strickland and Fluffy Hernandez. That is the most important thing in MMA right now. Okay? So, it's not really something that a lot of casual fans really care about. The Fluffy Hernandez-Sean Strickland fight. If you work in an office, if you work in the boardroom, if you work in factories, or if you work in labor, whatever job that you do today, I want you to go ask your coworkers, because the majority of them are probably going to be normies who know nothing about MMA, right? That's just the reality of the world. Ask them, hey, you excited about the Sean Strickland Anthony Hernandez fight this weekend? This is what you're going to be met with. No, never heard of him. Don't really care. Oh, isn't that the racist guy? And who's this Mexican guy that he's fighting? They don't even know who Fluffy Hernandez is, right? They don't know who Sean Strickland is. They barely know who Sean Strickland is. But guess what? You mentioned that Ronda Rousey is fighting again. I guarantee you're going to have that water cooler conversation in your office and in your break room. So, Sir Jacob says, I Googled it. She spoke against you-know-who, so controversial, we know what Israel is doing. Okay, so there you go. Sir Jacob says, Ronda Rousey will never fight again. She got her head kicked clean off. You're right. This is why this fight is not happening in the UFC. That's another thing I want to talk about as well, right? Don't worry, I'm going to get to all of your comments. I just wanted to say this, right? Ronda Rousey is taking this fight because it is low damage and it is low risk. Do you know when was the last time Gina Carano fought? It was 2009. I don't even, man, I don't even know. I actually do know what I was doing at 2009. I just can't mention it. But let me tell you, that was the last time Gina Carano fought, and the MMA world was a different space that we are in right now. So she fought at the time when Brendan Schaub was not even in the UFC, when Brendan Schaub was competing for the Ultimate Fighter. I need you to put that in perspective, okay? So this is a low risk. And then on top of that, why is the UFC not picking up this fight? Well, they would love to have Ronda Rousey compete. They would love to have Ronda Rousey in a UFC card. The problem is the opponent is not UFC worthy, and she never was. So what did Dana White do in the process behind the scenes? He said, listen, she's under a contract with us. You can borrow her the same way that Chuck Liddell was borrowed by Pride FC, the same way that Conor McGregor was borrowed by Floyd Mayweather and the PBC, the same way that all these other fighters in the UFC are borrowed by the RAF or other grappling organizations that, for whatever reason, they are allowed to compete in but can't compete in boxing. And they probably are making a share off of Ronda Rousey's salary as a result of allowing her to fight on Netflix. So that's another thing that you have to realize, okay? So here's what it is. Ronda Rousey can still fight in the UFC. Ronda Rousey could probably beat a lot of girls in the UFC. You just don't see it because you see her get her head kicked cleaned off by Holly Holmes and then knocked out in a very brutal fashion by Amanda Nunes. So you start thinking to yourself, she ain't worth anything. But have you really seen women's fighting lately? It is horrible. Okay, it is so horrible that somebody with her skill set can literally go in there and win fights. I'm not saying she can win world titles, but she can win fights, and she can win rankings, ranking positions. Number 5, number 6, maybe even number 10 in her first fight coming back. She can do that. The problem is Gina Carano is not worthy of that fight, nor is she worthy to be in the octagon. So what did they do instead? They called up Jake Paul and said, hey, you want to make a hexagon instead of an octagon so that she can go in there and fight Ronda Rousey for this freak show fight? And my official prediction on this, first round armbar by Ronda Rousey. That's how this is going to go. And if Gina Carano wins, I would be vehemently shocked if she's even has the ability to do so. Let me read some of these comments and then we'll continue on. So, okay. Okay, so we read that part. Ronda Rousey will never fight again. She got her head cleaned off. Yes, we read that part. Victory. Good morning to you, my man. He says Strickland wins by decision. That's my official pick. Great. So we got some great banter going on with those picks because obviously I'm going to be biased towards my my fellow Sacramento guy, Fluffy Hernandez, right? If you look at the last live stream video that I did regarding this particular topic, if you look at the thumbnail, what does it say on the thumbnail, right? It says on the thumbnail that wrestling wins fights, okay? And then you got Sean Strickland in a wrestling singlet there, but it's actually not Sean Strickland who's going to be doing the wrestling. It's going to be Fluffy Hernandez, but we'll get to that. So that's your official pick. Great. So we got some good banter going on with that, and if I happen to live stream that fight this weekend, then we'll definitely have a lot of banter to go over. So yes, she is fighting Sir Jacob as in response from Victory. It's Gina Carano. It's going to be on Netflix for MVP promotions, and yes, that's Marty right there, sort of explaining that in a comment section. Yes, it is true. This is Jake Paul's organization going into MMA. So Victory says, I said Ronda sucks when I got here, and YouTube deleted it. Yeah, that's quite odd. Maybe if you use a different word, maybe terrible or not good, but sucks I think kind of has a bit of a sexual innuendo that perhaps maybe the AI is picking up on. But yeah, Sir Jacob says sounds interesting. Exactly, exactly. Now look, for people like myself who are hardcore MMA fans, and I'm sure that the majority of the listeners here are hardcore MMA fans, because otherwise, why would you listen to a random guy in Sacramento ramble on about a sport that you love if you really didn't love the sport at all, right? We're going to love every fight. This Anthony Hernandez-Strickland fight, we're excited and ecstatic for it, along with the entire card, which has a lot of 50-50 fights and exciting matchups to go along with it. So we are definitely locked into every fight, every week, including what's the next fight after Sean Strickland and Fluffy Hernandez. There's another fight after that week too, and it is an Apex card, and that is Brandon Moreno and Loner Kavanaugh. That's also another fight. We're going to watch that too. But here's the thing. The majority of the people want this. They want the Ronda Rouseys of the world to fight. They want the Conor McGregors of the world to fight. And they want the John Jones of the world to fight. No matter what, even if it's within the UFC or whether it's not with the UFC, they need them to fight because it is the only way that they're going to watch fighting. Okay, now what you have going on with Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano, it is more like a nostalgia type of affair. Okay, let me explain something to you guys. When it comes to movies, Americans are not going to watch Rambo 9. You want to know who watches Rambo 9? People from Hong Kong, people from overseas, people from Europe, specifically Germany, not so much of the English-speaking countries, right? People like that, they are looking for Rambo 9. You see, with us, the new guys, we're not looking for that. We're looking for Jason Statham movies. We're looking for Tom Hardy movies. We're looking for any action movie with an English guy in a British guy's accent that follows along with a lot of shootings and a lot of modern situations going on, right? That's Jason Statham and Tom Hardy. We're not interested in watching Sylvester Stallone, 70 years old, okay, making Expendables 7, which literally is the type of movie to attract overseas type of people. This is what they're into. They are into that, right? Whereas with us Americans, especially fight fans who are Americans, you really need to compel us to watch and for us to be impressed. I mean, we're going to watch everything anyway, but we need to be impressed with what you got going on. We need to have the John Jones and the Tom Aspinall fights of the world. We need the Ilya Topuras and the Islam Makhachev fights of the world. We need all of that. We need all of that. What we don't need as hardcores is Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano. Now, here's the thing. There's a lane for this because guess what? All your friends who don't know anything about MMA, they're going to be asking you, the MMA guy, the proverbial you that I'm looking at, who watches all the fights, who watches all my videos, who watches all the other videos for other MMA streamers, you are the guy that is going to be asked, hey, what do you think about that Ronda Rousey, Gina Carano fight? Meanwhile, you're over here thinking about, man, is Sean Strickland going to teep Fluffy Hernandez? Is Fluffy Hernandez going to out-wrestle him the whole entire time? Okay, let's read some of these comments because they're coming in right here. He says, sounds interesting. We know that person would destroy her, though. We know that person would destroy her. Are you talking about Gina Carano? I doubt it. I think Ronda Rousey is a great matchup for Gina Carano in terms of her having easy work against Gina Carano. But let's see. He says, how about Bappa Schaub saying him and Dana White are Eskimo brothers because of Ronda? This is true. It is a known fact that Brandon Schaub has dated Ronda Rousey. And when her and Ronda Rousey dated, I think after the fact, she dated Travis Brown, and then before that it was Dana White. No, it was Dana White first, then Brendan Schaub, and then, yeah, Ronda Rousey gets around like Tupac. She's the female Tupac. You know what I'm saying? I get around, I get around. Anyways, yeah, Strickland is in sick shape right now. Okay, great, great. Now, let's see if that shape translates to wrestling, right? If he's in great shape because of wrestling, then we got ourselves a real fight in our hands, and probably, you know, a jab teep fest that we would expect out of Sean Strickland. Ivan the Great, pound for pound. First time I seen you here. How are you, Ivan? Strickland has a great takedown defense, though. Yes, but let's see how long that lasts with somebody who's a little bit of a higher caliber wrestler like Fluffy Hernandez, at least in terms of MMA wrestling. He says, right, Ivan. And that's probably why Marty is picking Sean Strickland, because he sees a takedown defense on Sean Strickland's part where Fluffy may not. And you know what? Fluffy may just outstrike him. How about that, right? We forget that that pace goes both ways, meaning that it can go in a way of grappling prowess, or it can go in a way of volume striking. Ivan the Great says, two has-beens will probably be a terrible fight, to be honest. True. Now, the question is, who is going to be in the undercard? How about putting Francis Ngannou in here? He's a free agent, right? He has a relationship with Jake Paul, or at least a loose relationship. I mean, he sort of snubbed the idea of fighting Jake Paul, but maybe he will be down to fight for Jake Paul's promotion, especially as a free agent. Trent, first time I've seen you here. Dude, Hell or High Water has to be the greatest movie ever made. Dude, Hell or High Water has to be the greatest movie made. What is that movie? Is that Hell or High Water? Has to be the greatest movie, huh? Okay. Oh, okay. So, okay. Wow. All right. Who's in this? Okay. Okay. Hell or High Water. All right. I will check that movie out, man. Thanks for the recommendation. He says we don't need any female fights. Oh, well. Well, I tell you what, Victory, right? You know how I feel about those types of fights, right? I mean, look, I'm not going to go into it because I don't want to get canceled, but you know my stance on it. But a fight is a fight by the end of the day, but also this isn't just any fight. This is MMA history, right? These are two historic MMA figures now coming to clash together. And by the way, in some real interesting situations with Netflix and Jake Paul as the promoter. He says, John Wayne Parr was a sick Muay Thai kickboxer. Yes, I'm very familiar with John Wayne Parr. Yes. Truth Dream, CEO says Hernandez wins. There you go. So Truth Dream is on my side on that one. Victory says, so Dana could give the Andre Arlovsky line to Schaub. How it tastes. Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, because they're Eskimo brothers, right? Okay. Trent says, what do you think of Matt Jedi Knight Floyd in BKFC? Matt Jedi Knight Floyd, huh? Okay. Matt Jedi Floyd. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, so he fought James DeGale. Okay, so he was the guy that fought James DeGale. Let's see, let's take a look at this real quick. Ivan says, they probably are going to gas in a round, or Ronda is going to ragdoll that lady from Deadpool. Oh, that's right. She was in Deadpool, huh? Was Gina Carano in Deadpool. So, okay, so you see that it's kind of genius putting this in Netflix, right? Ronda Rousey, movie star, just like Gina Carano, who's also a movie star. So, in other words, they put it on Netflix. These are people who watch movies, who are familiar with movie stars. Man, I gotta say, that's quite a good deal. That's quite. I mean, it's a great business deal for them, right? Netflix, two movie stars, two MMA legends, and Jake Paul as the head promoter. obviously indicative of Nikisa from MVP facing them off in the thumbnail that I had posted. He says, you remember Andre saying that both Tim Sylvia in Ariel. Do you remember Andre saying that about Tim Sylvia in the Helwani video? What did he say about Tim Sylvia again? Remind me. Because obviously we're talking about multiple subjects at once, so you are probably referencing something that I was saying mid-sentence. So yeah, give me a little bit of some context of what you mean by the Tim Sylvia interview regarding Ariel Helwani. And Victory says, I do think it's crazy that they're fighting 5-5s their first fight back. Well, I mean, they are the main event, right? And both of these ladies have been used to only fighting championship rounds, even though Ronda Rousey finishes her fights early. Yeah, man. And even though Gina Carano hasn't fought since 2009, yeah, it's still the type of fight that you need for both of them because they're used to 5-round fights. Ivan the Great says, wish that Baldy Dana would retire. He's low-key doing a terrible job at promoting the UFC at the moment. So I want to be very clear about this, Ivan, right? I hope you understand. Now, I hope you're not saying that because of the Ronda Rousey fight. I need you to understand that the Ronda Rousey fight is being held under the Netflix banner, and in particular, Jake Paul debuting his MMA promotion, right? Because MVP Promotions is a boxing promotion through the boxing matches that he puts on, and then the other people that he has promoted in that, but now he's going to go into MMA. He says, who was the lad who got released from prison? I don't follow MMA that much, mainly bare knuckle. Wow, you know what, Trent? That's very interesting, right? Usually, when I see people that are into bare knuckle fighting or bare knuckle boxing, they're usually boxing fans or MMA fans or a combination of both, right? You specifically are just a BKFC fan, and that's really interesting that that is just your particular niche is bare knuckle, right? I don't meet too many people like you, but I have seen people that have pages that are dedicated only to BKFC or bare knuckle fights, right? And so obviously there's a niche for that lane. So, you know, very interesting that that is your specific lane is just bare knuckle, because usually bare knuckle fans are also MMA fans or boxing fans. Fresh Melon Juice says Cain Velasquez heavyweight champion. By the way, shout out to Cain Velasquez. He has finally returned today. Due to the corrupted California system that we have. Obviously, he was released a little too late, right? I mean, it's never too late, but he was released, and that's great. That's what we need. But speaking of California commissions, remember, this is the same commission that is sanctioning Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano. Okay, and I'm very concerned because Ronda Rousey has mentioned that she's had brain damage over the years, and I think this is just going to perpetuate it or make it even worse, right, going into a situation like this. Victory says, Tim Sylvia took Andre's girlfriend. Okay, Hawani asked about it. He said, I'll ask him how. Oh, okay. Okay. So a little bit of a love triangle there with Tim Sylvia and Andre Arlovski. Interesting. Okay. He says, I know that the UFC got $7 billion and still hasn't done anything new or improved on the product at all. Elaborate. What would you like them to do with this new money that they have, right? Because here's the thing that I notice about the UFC, right? They never go all out all at once, right? Like everything is always a setup for the next situation going on. Whereas with boxing, as Dana White had mentioned, it is nothing more than what you would call a going out of sale business, right? That's all that they have going on. It's a going out of sale business. They're not really trying to, let's say, prepare the next event, right? They're not trying to cultivate the next event. They're just there as, all right, you know, we're going to put all our eggs in one basket, and then we'll hope for the best in the future. Whereas with the UFC, they're like, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to set up fight nights on the Apex. We're going to do a few fights on the road. We'll do one in Texas. We'll do one in Tennessee, one in Ohio, one in Seattle. And then we'll have our big cards in Abu Dhabi, in England. We'll have it in Vegas. And that is the, plan that the UFC has in terms of long term. Trent says, in Australia, there is a hood contender. It is small gloves, but yeah, bare knuckle is sick. Okay, so Trent, you are from Australia. Okay, so welcome, my man. Welcome. Let me know what part of Australia you are from. Victory says, Ronda definitely has brain damage. Correct. Hence the thumbnail that I have for this live stream, right? It literally says brain damaged, okay? And it has Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano facing off with Nikisa in the middle of it all, right? But remember, here's the interesting thing about Ronda Rousey, right? She is still under UFC contract, okay? So this is why I compare this situation as no different than that of Chuck Liddell being borrowed by Pride FC, and then among other names that I mentioned with Conor McGregor signing to fight Floyd Mayweather under the PBC Showtime banner. All they've done is increase the bonuses and add a finish bonus. So here's the thing, right? I think that right there is progress. Not only is it progress, let me talk to you about the bonus and the increase of pay, right? That is a strategy for future fighters that they're going to have so that they don't sue them, so that they can live at least decent enough to make a living, to pay their coaches, and not only that, to come back for more, but never biting the hand that fed them in the first place. Because you have to understand, all these lawsuits that the UFC is going through, all these settlements that they have going through, right? It is making them rethink their strategy, okay? And somewhere along the lines, they are making a whole lot more money, so why not just share a little bit of it, right? The last thing you want to do is not feed your dogs, okay? And this also goes into street politics as well, right? I've seen guys who make a whole lot of money in the streets, and for whatever reason, they're not giving the cut to their guys that are with them, right? The guys that have shot for them, the guys that have intimidated people for them, the guys that have pressed issues for them. They don't go out and pay them, and then they wonder why they get toppled, right? This is the reason why a lot of mafia bosses get toppled. This is the reason why a lot of gang leaders get toppled, because they don't take care of their people long term. And so now they're realizing, you know what, maybe we need to take care of our fighters. Ivan the Great says, the press conference is a start. Haven't seen a good presser since the McGregor era. Well, that's not on the UFC, now is it? That is incumbent upon the fighters that are involved. For example, you got to understand, right? Some fighters choose not to promote themselves, choose not to say anything interesting, choose not to increase their English vocabulary if English is not their first language. And Islam Makhachev, by the way, good on him. He goes and learns English. He goes and tells his guys, you need to learn English so that you can be a marketable fighter. And that's just what you got to do. You got to know how to sell. And unfortunately, sometimes it's just guys that are coming in here just not knowing how to do it. It happens in all types of combat sports. In boxing, the Klitschko brothers were a phenomenal group of guys that were taking over boxing for years and years, right? They were plain Jane Ukrainian, Eastern European fighters. There wasn't any jazz and pizzazz to them or anything like that. So lo and behold, here comes Tyson Fury, 2015, ready to set a fight with Vladimir Klitschko. What does he do? He shows up in the press conference dressed as Batman. Wow, what a relief. Now we finally got a guy that's going to put himself out there, do something a little bit crazy, whereas in the past 10 years before 2015, the Klitschkos were running boxing, and I would argue even ruining boxing. Gordo Tech says, y'all think Dana White will buy into bare knuckle? That's a very interesting question. Now, McGregor is the co-owner of BKFC. Who else is behind that? Who does Conor McGregor have his contract with? follow the money line on that, right? I think they already own it, but don't say it. And I also have this theory that I believe the Saudis own the UFC. They just don't go flat out and say it because they don't want to bear the responsibility of, let's say, if a matchmaking gone wrong, or if a product gone wrong, or a production that has gone wrong, or something to that extent has gone wrong. They don't want to bear the end of those of those negativities, right? They don't want to bear any of that. So I think they are the secret owners of the UFC, in my opinion, right? This is just my opinion. I don't have definitive conclusions or data metrics to say otherwise, but I honestly do believe that the UFC is owned by the Saudis in secret. Because why else would they not, right? They own Newcastle. The Emiratis own Manchester City. They own all types of soccer teams, maybe all types of football, or, you know what, they're not into football. Imagine if the Saudis decided, you know what, we're going to go buy the New England Patriots, right? That's also coming into works as well. It just so happens that combat sports is their top priority right now because, just like us, they are fans who love the sport regardless. So Carano's family are super rich. This is Fresh Melon Juice saying this. Carano's family are super rich. She's doing this out of boredom or fame. She's doing this out of redemption from her past transgressions. Okay, speaking about you-know-who and, and certain type of people. This is her way of doing that, right? Redemption. Remember, there is nothing better for a fighter to redeem themselves from the public scrutiny that they face than getting into a fight. I'm telling you, man, fighting changes everything. The minute you win, Conor McGregor, take for example, all of these mishaps that he was going through, right? The same time that Donald Trump was going through all these mishaps, right? You had all these court cases going towards Donald Trump, going towards Conor McGregor, all of these problems, getting accused of RAPE, getting accused of all of these things, right? All of a sudden, he fights at the White House, knocks out, name you whatever opponent you want, whether that would be Justin Gaethje, whether that would be Michael Chandler, or let's go even bigger, Ilya Tapora. You forget about all of these things. So when Gina Carano wins, long term, she can go back to Hollywood, and let's be honest, a lot of people are vehemently annoyed with Ronda Rousey. She's going to be seen as a hero. So not so much of boredom or out of fame. She already has fame, and boredom, I don't know. I don't think you can really be bored in the modern world, especially if you have enough money to sort of, clear out that boredom or rearrange that boredom or do something about that boredom. I don't think it's boredom. I don't think it's fame. I think it is a little bit of fame. She wants to maintain that fame, get movie roles, and get redemption from all the things that she said. Now, for me, she has nothing to apologize to me. She has nothing to apologize for you. Maybe she has something to apologize for Ariel Helwani, but whoever it is, she pissed off certain people, and as a result, this is why she needs to go and fight Ronda Rousey. Okay, it's a PR campaign. Zombie says, we are looking for honest live reactions to our song. Interested? Brothers Osborne, while you still can. Huh? You're looking for a reaction for your song? You have a song out? Let me know what song you have. He says, come on, bro. They can do a little bit more. Bring back face-to-face interviews. I agree. Give the fighters more opportunity to create a storyline. I agree. Instead, a horrible presser with media members who are kind of dumb. I wouldn't say that they're dumb. I think that they are rehabilitated in ways that you can't ask Dana White X, Y, and Z. You can't ask Dana White why he slapped his wife. You can't ask Dana White why Conor McGregor is an RAPIST, right? You can't do none of those things. But what you can do is ask, hey, I'm really excited about this fight. Hey, Dana White, I love you. Or, You know, all these glazing type of situations that they have going on. I mean, that's the most that you can really do, you know, out of this. And guess what? Here's another thing, right? As I was talking about redemption throughout all of this, right? You know who also gets to redeem himself throughout all of this is Jake Paul. Jake Paul can also redeem himself through this process. Why? Because check this out. Jake Paul can say, you know what? I've now entered the world of mixed martial arts as a promoter. I mean, look, you got to understand, it was really bad that Anthony Joshua beat him that bad, broke his jaw, and then a week later, Anthony Joshua got into that car accident. And here's the thing, when it comes to media, everything is perception, right? Perception is the ruler of every entertainer, podcaster, anybody that's in the media front, okay? He's blamed for Anthony Joshua's death, Anthony Joshua's friend's death, even though he had nothing to do with it directly. But here's the thing, you go into MMA as a promoter, you use your promotions that you did in boxing, and you promote this fight, guess what? You can also redeem yourself as whatever mishaps you may have experienced prior. So this is a win for everybody. You know who doesn't win? There's only one group of people who don't win out of this. There's only one group of people. It is the MMA hardcore fans. Those are the only people that don't win in this whole entire process. So I need you to understand this, okay? I need you to understand. Ronda Rousey, this is a win for her because it is a redemption story. Gina Carano, this is a win for her because this is also a redemption story and a PR campaign. Jake Paul, as a promoter going into MVP, this is a win for him because now he gets to create a new avenue that he did in boxing as he can do in MMA with MVP promotions. The UFC wins because, let's be honest about this, right? Let's get to the nitty-gritty of the sports side of this story, right? Ronda Rousey is going to run through Gina Carano. Okay, there is a reason why Ronda Rousey ran through people back then, and it was a generation that was right after Gina Carano. They didn't specialize in anything, but they also weren't the most well-rounded in terms of women's fighting. I'm talking about Gina Carano's generation. But I tell you what, Ronda Rousey gets this win, and she's still tied to the UFC, still has a UFC contract. They create different options for her afterwards. But more than likely, if Ronda Rousey comes into the UFC and fights at a championship level, she's going to get demolished. Kayla Harrison, demolishment. Amanda Nunes, demolishment. Valentina Shevchenko, demolishment. Now, everybody else who's not a champion, I think Ronda Rousey has their number. That's what I think, right? But even if she doesn't have their number, they can create matchups for her where they can bring her in one night. They can bring her in the early quarters of 2027 just off of that win from Gina Carano. And then Netflix wins, the UFC wins because they can create different avenues for Ronda Rousey. Gina Carano wins, even though if she loses, I think there's still a positive notoriety from the PR nightmare that she experienced prior. And I think it will bring her into some positive fold and also make her a lot more friendly towards people that are, let's say, looking to give her movie roles. So, listen, I just wanted to come in here and really just talk about this particular subject with Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano. There's nothing more to really say about this. I just wanted to come in here, do a quick under an hour live stream to talk about it. I think that I've talked about everything that I needed to talk about with this. If there's anything else that you guys would like to talk about or anything that you would like to discuss, let me know. I have the predictions for UFC's Fluffy Hernandez versus Hernandez card in my last live stream for you guys to check out. So let's see if we covered everything that we talked about here in the description, okay? So we discussed the upcoming fight that was recently signed between Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano. Also, the potential danger that comes with this, right? Ronda Rousey has mentioned she had brain damage all throughout the years, including years in judo, and then also claiming that she wasn't even able to see. And here's another thing. She also mentioned that there's a high rate of dementia in her family, right? They have the susceptibility to suffer from dementia. And yet they've never been hit in the head. So what does that tell you about Ronda Rousey's future? Unless, of course, she really believes that this is a low-risk fight, because just as I suspected, Gina Carano was never on the level of Ronda Rousey. Gina Carano was never on the level of these girls in modern MMA. But here's the thing. You may think that about Ronda Rousey. You say that she sucks, but in reality, she only sucks because you saw her lose to champions. But I still think Ronda Rousey can compete, and that is the reason why I have my official prediction as Ronda Rousey running through her 1 or 2 rounds and finishing her off in the first or second round. Now, a 5-round fight, that's standard. These are 2 championship fighters when they left the game of MMA, championship-level fighters, and they come back as championship-level fighters regardless because of the notoriety and the name that comes with them, even though they may not be able to match the hype that comes with that. All right, so that is all that I have for this one, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you in the next one, inshallah.